Another day sailing through the clouds here, looking down on the Earth as we continue to move through inner space here at full speed. Welcome back. Artist Journal, January 29th, 2025, broadcasting from a laptop here in Berlin, Germany. For another few months, I may move cities. It is still undetermined. We shall see. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Let's go. Canik Zapata. Pretty rad artwork. Interesting. And you have to love these textures in here. Maybe I can make it larger. Oh, or can I? Open image. Let's see. Open image in new tab. Because you have to basically see this if you are not familiar. Here we go. And here we go. So stable diffusion, actually, if we go here, stable diffusion output with cellular automata and animated by script. Animated by script. So this animation, according to Canik Zapata, animated by script, pretty cool. So combining, now we saw the cellular automata with the kind of the anime manga, right? But we didn't necessarily see this combined with stable diffusion. And of course, you know, you think of Scamra when you think of these jagged pixels here, probably the pioneer, one of, you know, definitely early, probably the earliest I've seen of doing these kind of jagged pixels. And it seems if you use stable diffusion, you can get these kind of jagged pixels. So pretty interesting rendering here, so to speak. I mean, again, script animation. And let's not forget as well, and I highly recommend you listen to this, is the space I did with Canik Zapata about a month ago, let's call it 6 weeks ago, where Canik Zapata was describing how he uses Python in Terminal somehow, right, to get these kind of incredible original, I would say original enough, let's call it that, textures. And unfortunately, this is the largest, but I hope you can see that. Oh, wait, okay, there we go. As you see here, so I think a lot of scripting here. And as they say in business, I think scripting creates a moat. You know, if people are trying to, you know, copy it, so to speak, back to the copy issue, it's kind of trickier, right? If you're doing scripting, that requires a certain degree of expertise. So super interesting work here by Canik Zapata. Nothing quite like it, is there? I mean, I can't think of another artist. I mean, I guess the closest we get is Scamra with the people at computers, but this is quite different, I would argue. Because it plays, it's not just people at computers, it's kind of playing with the digital art scene from a content perspective. And this is pretty spectacular, I have to say, this painting in the background. And again, what I'm assuming is going on here is stable diffusion to get the composition, and then this thing gets processed through whatever Python script, the cellular automata, whatever that is. Again, maybe I need to re-listen to that space that we did with Canik Zapata. So what do we have here? Because if we go back and remember, like, let's not forget remember these kind of anime figures that we've been looking at, and there are a few others. Canik Zapata releases a lot of work, so it's hard to sometimes find. Yeah, because it was before the animals. But what you'll remember, here they are. Remember these, but this is using, let's just go to here for the sake of argument. Python script on Stephen Wolfram's study in one-dimensional cellular automata. But what don't you see here is the stable diffusion. Now, of course, back to our discussion on technology, one of the characteristics that is described in The Nature of Technology, an excellent book, kind of worth its own show. Again, I've only read a third. But some of the lessons that I learned, and I really have to finish that book, Because one of the way technology progresses, as I've mentioned in the past, according to this book, which is excellent, is through combination. We've discussed this many times. And so here, we are seeing combination. We're seeing stable diffusion enter the mix of this cellular automata thing. And we're starting to get some pretty exotic results, I would argue. And we're starting to get, it's an interesting phenomenon, I'd argue, that we're looking at here. Because I'm not sure how much, if any, of this beautiful artwork in the background, within this larger beautiful artwork, how much of this is actually drawn by Canexapida? I suspect none. I suspect this is AI for the composition. As we were saying with stable diffusion, we recognize the jagged pixels here, and then processed, one imagines, with Python afterwards. But what's so interesting about this, I would argue, weirdly, is how human this looks. This looks like, this is looking weirdly painterly over here. As if, like, put it this way, it's starting to evoke many of the delights that we have looking at what I'd say, classic 20th century modern painting. And what do I mean by that? Texture, expression, Basquiat, neo-expressionism as it was called, right? This kind of looseness, right? But weirdly, you might say the epitome, again, neo-expressionism, the epitome of someone just kind of expressing their humanity to a certain degree. However, super weirdly, all with script and stable diffusion, and I suspect Canexapida didn't draw any of this. However, as I was just saying, look at how painterly and human it looks. Look at how almost expressive it looks. A weird paradox here, I would argue. And so, all very interesting. Edition of 11, sold out. These are selling pretty well. We got some speculators here, picking up a few. GIF, AI art, cellular automata. So again, combination. Let's look at a couple others, nice and small here too. 512 by 512, 1.41 megabytes. Very interesting. She is loading his wallet to show us her collection. And again, look at how gorgeous this is. So again, we see the stable diffusion jagged pixels, which we've seen in a few artists. And we also see, again, the cellular automata, and again, the script-based animation. So one wonders, is it simply going, just to speculate out loud here, from this point on the color bar to this point on the color bar, I want it to flash, and, whatever's outside of these levels, not. Right? Perhaps, or, so who knows? Really interesting, I would argue, actually, rhythm to the animation as well as the color of the animation. Like, you think of Uxine, how different, for example, for contrast, that flashes, it's a lot more kind of manic. It's more these kind of typical Uxine, kind of maybe neons and whatever else. Super interesting. So, interesting, is it at a different rhythm here? I'm not sure. I think it's at the same rhythm here, but again, the space, these lines, we're starting to get something pretty original and interestingly hard to duplicate, I would argue, until someone finds out. Okay, let's continue. Collector shows his digital art collection. So this is a very cool, again, the real breakthrough here for me. It was already looking fantastic. There have been a few breakthroughs. There's a cellular automata, which is huge. Never seen anybody making these, triangles and whatever, different patterns for these fills. But then also combining with stable diffusion here to get something pretty exotic, as we see even here. It's looking good everywhere. So this is super interesting. fun subject too. She is showing her pixel art collection. So pretty powerful. Look at, and even just like, again, the painterliness as you look at these diagonals on the side here, the variation, right? Everywhere you look, it's kind of different, as if it's a painting. And again, probably, not a single brushstroke, made, perhaps. Speculating here. What does that mean? Is this all prompting? Making expressionistic paintings through prompting. I mean, how crazy is this getting? Well, good thing we're having the fabulously named Absurdity on the program to help us untangle what's going on here. So this episode, this today, in a couple of hours here. Absurdity on collecting digital art, really on all the big trends, also an artist. So we're going to hear what Absurdity has to say. Can't wait. There's so many, big discussions in the space, so it should be interesting. Last episode, thank you for the support, and I think we got some comments here. We did. Ed Marola, I find it fascinating to talk about digital poetics. Please continue. So interesting. I'm trying to think. What is digital poetics? I'm trying to actually think. I have been talking about a poetic exploration of software, which we discussed, I think it was with Deluxe Paint, right? So maybe that's what Ed's referring to. But yeah, I will happily continue the discussion, and thank you for the comment. Cider. Yes, this is Cider. Awesome episode. So it was. Sid7288 is Cider. Thank you for the wonderful comments and ongoing support from the fabulous, temperament there, Cider. Good vibes. Enjoying the good vibes, Cider. A big cheers. You are great. Wonderful artist as well. Roon Toon. I went to Object to find Kaplan's new work you showed, but realized it was on Rodeo. Dang it, I need that landscape. Yes, it has happened to all of us, Roon Toon. I relate. Many of us relate. I will see you later. Nicholas Dietrich, who did that fabulous pixel artwork. Thanks for the mention, Adrian. Just in case you're wondering, the hypogeum is the underground chamber bottom right. So if you remember that pixel art piece from last episode, there's a little mysterious square on the bottom right. So that is the hypogeum, which was the name of the work, I believe. Ecotextile, yes, war competition on digital art. It's kind of funny how it's taken almost 400 shows to kind of English that. To quote McKenna, and yes, Adrian, send your profile ASAP. Yeah, indeed, I should, and I shall. Yes, that's an interesting topic and strange too. A new commercial version for digital art may be on the horizon. It's so interesting, isn't it? Traveling to Saudi Arabia may be okay for men. I'm not sure how welcome women and digital art may feel out there. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I know they are liberalizing to a certain degree. But I don't know. I don't know if you need to wear a head covering, for example. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, it's not necessarily at the top of the list of places I need to visit. I almost went to Saudi Arabia, actually, a year ago for a metals conference, interestingly. So, worlds collide. It didn't work out, but it was actually very close. So anyways, thank you. And I should follow up on that, and I think I will. Yes. Roon Toon, my girlfriend thinks you look like Nathan Fielder, too. I'd never heard of this person, so hilarious. Thanks, Roon Toon. And shout out to your girlfriend. The War for Digital Art. So again, on X, thanks for the support. Nice response here. Zozo, thank you for the cover feature, friend. It's an honor. Well, absolute pleasure. Zozo is pretty rad artist, as you can see here. Helps me too. It's fabulous to be able to start a show with fabulous works like this. I mean, people who never see this show before, all of a sudden this shows up on the timeline. It's like, what on earth is this? So it's a win-win, Zozo. Thanks for the comment. Kennick Zapata. We need a Gogolitis complete playable Mario Brothers video game. Well, actually, we're going to see a Rada Mario Brothers video game. I think this episode, I don't know if it's complete and playable, but I kind of agree. This whole kind of reskinning, so to speak, or remixing, so to speak, of video games is just a very fun and cool idea. Armilk, awesome to hear from you. Neural Divine, great show. So cool to see my work before the great No Hygiene. Awesome. Yes, indeed. No Hygiene. We're going to look. I got 43,000 likes. We're going to look on Instagram. I mean, that is off the charts. And again, I would say not an easy artist to a certain degree, but maybe there's just something, the weirdness has mainstream appeal, perhaps. Dither, another great episode. Thanks, Pocobelli. Thank you for the support. Appreciate that. Retro Manny, how time flies. Fast approaching episode 400. And it is interesting, and I'm glad you mentioned it. As I was saying here, it just goes to show if you do something as a habit, how quickly it accumulates. You do something every day, then all of a sudden, if you make an artwork every day, well, in 365, in a year, you're going to have quite a few artworks, right? So it is kind of interesting incorporating, it's all about the habit, isn't it? D, great show as always. What I really loved about Zozo's work that you featured at the beginning is that, this was brilliant actually, is that mix of nostalgic, slightly off-kilter 80s video game scenery paired with the sound of the wind. That sound really makes it feel as if we are driving in a convertible from the past into something new that still looks like the past. The signs on the board are just for entertainment. They don't really tell us where to go. And if they would tell us where to go, the semiotics tell us to go exactly to that same spot where we are in the scenery. So long as the GIF loops, we're in the beautiful, distant, nostalgic atmosphere that somehow feels much more real than what we could have expected. Now, generally speaking, I am not a fan of art criticism and art reviews. I think when it uses history, it's interesting because then at least you're learning something. But usually I'm not a fan of art criticism. However, this is really good. It's short, it's to the point, it's poetic, and it kind of actually brings you something new to the artwork where you go, oh, this is excellent. What I'd call, to me, it justifies art criticism to a certain degree. D, fabulous. As I say, what a great description. Totally agree with you on all of that. And I never would have thought of any of that. Really interesting. Gogolitis. I haven't had the time to check the journal yet, but the piece being highlighted at the beginning is absolutely stunning. Absolutely. Me, Retratito, still waiting, so maybe waiting for someone. Again, I don't... it's a journal. It is not a news show. But thank you for the comment. Oblivion Fields, thanks again for showing my piece in this episode. You mentioned on-chain art on Tezos. Yes, someone was requesting this. You can just fill out a form now and upload your art. It's super easy. You mint generate your on-chain collection, contract first, and then you can mint on-chain art to that collection, and it will display properly on object. You can do on-chain editions as well. Limitation of the art is about 20 kilobytes. You can also practice your mint on GhostNet before committing to mainnet. Justin Zero may have some points, as well as Retro Manny, who made a video, by the way, that's on YouTube. Tornado Rodriguez, who have used the platform. This is the site, Save the World. So I don't generally, thank you for sending me the site. I don't generally click on the sites, though, just out of paranoia. But thank you for sending the site, and I'll do some research and see about the link there. Because there was another link that was sent to me as well. Yeah, I'm a user of Zero Contract, and I did my on-chain series with additions on the platform. It works smoothly. I also still do the way Retro Manny explained on the YouTube tutorial when I mint collab pieces. Yeah, very interesting. Also from Zozo. Thank you for the information, though. I will follow up on this. Zozo, and if there's a need for a video, I mean, if Retro Manny has already done a video, I'm not sure there's a need for me to do it, but let's see. I tried to, if there's an easier kind of form, where you just fill it out, I put a 5-minute video together, okay, fine. Zozo, I tried to reflect on how we live in a designed world and the role art plays in this. So a little info on this artwork here from the artist. This is fabulous. Traffic signs were designed by someone as everything else, and those choices shape the way we see the world, the way we move, the way we think, so design turns out to be something very powerful. Indeed. Indeed. You could argue design, it's like the visual structure, so to speak, of our reality to a certain degree that is human-made, I guess we could call it, to kind of riff and improvise here on the spot. So, yeah, it is interesting. And again, I think it's actually good fodder for poetic exploration. Maybe this is what Ed is talking about. I think it's good, again, like the way I see the difference between art and design is art is actually a form of design. But it's poetic design. It incorporates irrational elements, whereas, you take a website, a different kind of design, that's all utilitarian, it's all rational, right? So it has different kind of use cases. Two different ends, in a sense, to say it's useful in its own way, beauty, right? I mean, I think not to go into the whole Kant discussion, it's like, oh, well, it's not useful. I'm not sure it's, but again, it starts to become a semantic discussion. But anyways, thank you for sharing, and totally agree. Very cool, refreshing work from Zozo. Madeline, I love your reviews, and they make me think about a lot of useful things, and I'm also constantly discovering new talented artists. I'm glad to hear that, Madeline. Awesome to hear from you. Tornado Rodriguez, Poco, thanks for being so kind and showing my on-chain jar. You are welcome. Absolute pleasure. Just kind of interesting news here. This is BBC, but it made kind of global headlines. Mona Lisa to be moved as part of major Louvre overhaul, and it will be moved to a new exhibition space at the Louvre in Paris as part of a plan to renovate the world's most frequented museum. Emmanuel Macron stood in front of the masterpiece by Leonardo as he made the announcement to an audience of dignitaries, with the change to be introduced by 2031, and visitors charged separately to see the painting. Interesting. And Nouvelle Renaissance, interesting put there. The French president was outlining his new Renaissance project, which will also involve an international competition to design a second entrance to relieve the growing pressure of visitor numbers beneath the famous glass pyramid. So, yeah, there's a lot of news coming out of, I think I think I might have highlighted on this show, of how the Louvre needs renovations. And there's leaks and everything. So it looks like, and of course, everybody's looking for money here, so let's charge. Tariff charges will also be introduced from next January, so non-EU residents, including UK tourists, pay more to visit. So tariffs on your visit to the Louvre. It feels like a bit of a, weirdly, I can't tell. But what I was going to say, it feels like we're entering a little bit of a darker age. And I hope I'm wrong. And I often am in these sort of kind of feelings. But if we're putting tariffs on the visiting the Louvre, now, to be fair, maybe I would feel the same way if I worked there because there are too many people. We're going to see in the next article a picture of the Mona Lisa, and it's like a sty. There's people everywhere. It's too crowded. It's kind of, I don't want to call it gross, but it's it's too many people. So perhaps that is a solution. Okay, you really want to see it and do your little selfie, you can pay for it. So maybe it makes sense. But again, you do wonder, zooming out, how much sense it makes. And this is what I was talking about. The Louvre's director, Laurence Descartes, said that the museum was suffering grave problems of overcrowding and failing infrastructure. And this letter to the government was made public this month. Mademoiselle Descartes said the pyramid, which since 1989 has housed the unique access point to the galleries, was structurally unable to cope with visitor numbers that now reach more than 9 million a year. She also said that, quote, in the view of everyone, the presentation of the Mona Lisa is something that needs to be looked at. So just as we're discussing here. And this is also interesting. Let's just read this last little area here. About 3/4 of the museum's 30,000 daily visitors go to see Leonardo's painting, but the experience has become an endurance test, with a constant crowd being funneled through the Salle des États and getting on average 50 seconds to observe the picture and take photos. Quote, the public has no way of comprehending the artist's work, which raises questions over our whole mission of public service. Ms. Descartes said in her letter, and she's absolutely right. I think the last time I went there, I was kind of not mortified, but I was aghast at the situation there. Again, if you're there to actually appreciate the work and then you have all these, this kind of madness, or just it's like you're at a market, not at seeing one of the, most influential, important paintings, in art history. So So everything's going to be the eastern facade of the museum will be redesigned. So things are happening at the Louvre. I had to just highlight this headline, which I thought was hilarious. Italy is ready to welcome the Mona Lisa amid Louvre infrastructure concerns. So Italy's saying, hey, no problem. We're happy to take it off your hands. And this is what we're talking about here. It's just kind of madness here. Like, you're going to go here and you're going to study the painting. It's kind of become a social media, TikTok, Instagram. Like, as you see the phones coming out, you're not going to study anything here. So, it's all about getting your picture and saying you saw it. It's check it off the bucket list, so to speak. Art news. Just wanted to, this is kind of a weird headline, I thought, based on the, it's kind of an interesting case, I would say, of art media. And I'm curious, and I'll just share my opinion, and then you can form your own. But we see this headline here. Sotheby's records, almost looks like record. Sotheby records $6 billion total sales in 2024 amid clearly challenging market backdrop. So you see this and you think, wow, Sotheby's is doing awesome. Did they get a record? Okay, maybe Sotheby records, maybe I'm reading that wrong, but it looks like Sotheby's is doing great. Then you read it. Sotheby's revealed its 2024 earnings in a press call Thursday, with CEO Charles Stewart announcing $6 billion of consolidated sales against what he called a clearly challenging market backdrop. The figure was the highest in the industry for last year, but still marked a 23% decline from 2023. They had an especially difficult year. They laid off dozens of employees and also had to change their buyer's fees, which they had just changed. And so this is the real headline here. Really, Sotheby's sales declined 23% from 2023, from the year before. Talking about their annual earnings. I mean, that's remarkable. That is a pretty big drop. So it's just kind of a funny example of how the headline can be a little bit deceptive. I want to just run through this, but I feel like the sentiment in crypto is starting to be the worst I've ever seen. I dare say. At least that's how I'm feeling it, and I could be completely wrong about it. AKA Stevie. Kind of wild how most of us came here believing in the future of finance and art and entrepreneurship, and today the timeline wants you to believe the only way to win is to hop from metas and projects, because why be a bag holder? Then everyone complains that there are no real builders or good projects because real and good mean the same as hyped in 2025. So we play this little game of musical chairs, max leveraging our attention to jump from chain to chain, so we dare not get caught with a bag. And then one day, that one coin or project from the chain you love from years ago gets everyone's attention again, and you're like, darn, if I just followed my gut, I could have stayed still and slept more. So here's another one. Beanie. So Pump Fund has made $500 million in fees, and there's now billions of dollars worth of SOL permanently locked forever in liquidity pools of pump and dump meme coins on Rodeo. If you're not a blockchain expert, don't worry about understanding that, but basically a lot of money has been lost. It's like the biggest and most extractive scam in crypto history. Retail traders absolutely destroyed by the meta. So Pump.Fund being the main meme coin, platform. And that is where all these fees. And so interesting comment here. But again, we're seeing, I would argue, some of the worst sentiment I've actually ever seen or felt in the crypto world. Mr. K. So first you post GM and then they reply GM, and then you reply to their GM comment with a comment saying GM. And are you serious? This is why we get up in the morning? WTF. Not, what is that? Not gonna make it? I don't know. NA gonna make it. So again, so all to say, just more symptoms of the culture. As Ezra Pound says, the antennae of the culture. The antennae are seen, I think the culture is facing, I'd argue, weirdly, as the US gets ready to adopt crypto. So maybe this is the storm before the calm, or before the good times. It's always darkest before dawn. That may be what it is, but again, weirdly, as the US government looks to adopt crypto and maybe create some reserve, buy a bunch of crypto, kind of sounds good. It seems like the culture itself has never been more kind of doubtful about itself or just looked as fragile, weirdly. I mean, I've been in since 2020. It's never looked so fragile to me. Could be just, again, it's darkest before dawn. who knows? Mr. K happened again today. Found a one of one listed on one marketplace with the exact same piece live on Rodeo. So it happened again. So someone is putting an edition of one on one marketplace with the exact same piece, an identical piece on Rodeo as an open edition, which is pretty weird. It just seems completely unnecessary because these days to remix something is almost effortless. Like you can find, if you're looking for a way of remixing, you can remix with very little effort if you want to. Ideally, when you remix, you're really thinking about it and you put, maybe sometimes more work than the original. So I'm all for remixing. I do it. But no reason to do this when you can remix. Some may not mind. I mean, is this where we're at? But I do. It feels not very good to me. We all like Web3 because it has no rules, just choices. Artists are free to do whatever they want with their art, and collectors get to decide who they won't collect art from now or ever. So Mr. K, not impressed, and this is the problem. This is why, actually, I'm kind of back to the culture. When this sort of stuff happens, though, unfortunately, it doesn't just discredit, or copying, it doesn't just discredit the person doing it, say in this case, the artist doing it. It actually, I would argue, it starts to discredit the whole scene. And this is the problem. And I'm kind of back to these anonymous accounts. I wonder, because say I'm Adrian Pocobelli, right? If I start doing shifty things, it's not just me. It's not just me that has the risk. I risk sullying the family name, everybody associated with me, my family, everybody that knows my family, right? And so I'm kind of back to people sing the virtues of anonymous accounts, and I can understand it, and okay, doxing can have its problems, but there's a whole other side that people don't discuss when you have anonymous accounts, which is this lack of accountability. And, are you going to think twice about copying when your name is on the line and you risk, your entire family's reputation and name? So yes. So here we go. More, I wouldn't even say, just more, ill behavior that we're seeing. Again, it's like there's a bit of a rot, dare I say it, that's kind of, which I think is the underlying issue with the culture. That is the problem, because when the values start to go, and it's not like there were ever, but at least there were ideals in crypto, but as you see the narrative evolve, it seems to be getting more and more nihilistic, where meme coins, rather than utility, let's say, and building a new world, are the new thing, and it's just about trying to get money and get it before the other person, and do it with your little anonymous account. And if it doesn't, and if you make a bunch of money, you can just walk away and nobody knows who you are, or you mint double mint and then, nobody knows who you are. You just walk away because that's just, anonymous account, right? Let's continue. Some people have, if you're from some countries, there's good reason. I don't want to hammer too hard on the anonymous accounts. There is good reason, especially in some countries. There is a time and a place, but I'm just saying there is a cost. There's another side to this whole thing. It's not all good. There's a lack of accountability, I would argue, and so people feel freer to have morally dubious behavior, to put it politely. Mireille Yida, I tried Rodeo Club, and honestly, I don't see the point in minting my work in progress there just to earn a few cents. And this is really what it comes down to. The pay sucks, as I keep saying here. Plus, I keep seeing more and more low-quality content with mostly artists collecting from other artists, also true. I don't think Rodeo is the way to onboard people who aren't already in Web3. Completely agree. We discussed this with MetaMask. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it's just another platform looking to make money off of us, and we're like sheep falling for it again. It does, it's hard to disagree with any of this. Everyone should do whatever they want. Your art, your rules, but it's not for me. And to those minting artwork on Rodeo that you've listed as one of ones on other platforms, so this was going around, you're straight up scamming. And if you're minting art of the same quality, not work in progress experiments or things you wouldn't normally sell, I don't get it. You're devaluing your art and it makes no sense. I'm an artist, but I collect art too, and it honestly bothers me to see artists I've invested in minting free pieces with the same quality as their premium work elsewhere. Anyway, buy Rodeo is fun, but that's it for me. Interesting. I don't want to go too much into Rodeo. Like Absurdity was saying, I'm sick of Rodeo talk, and I kind of agree. It'll be interesting. Well, again, Absurdity today. That'll be fun. Sergeant Slaughtermelon. Oh, I remember why I brought this up, though. Okay, Rodeo.club. Rodeo hot take. There's a lot of strong opinions around the platform, so I'll throw in my own. I'm pro-Rodeo with some disclaimers. I'll start with the complaints against it. Artists are only making pennies when they collect it, and unless they can really scale into dozens or hundreds of collects, they're essentially making nothing posting there. My response to this is, as opposed to what? How many people are otherwise collecting your limited window open editions on Zora? I mean, there's more options than Zora, though. How much money did you make from people clicking like on Zuckerberg? So this is kind of what I'd call like, because of course there's Tezos, where people generally tend to do pretty well. There's also, what is it, Manifest XYZ? We'll see the website today. So there are options. So it's not like Zora and Instagram are the only ways to sharing cool art or X. There are other options. So it's like, what do you call that? Like a false, it's like a false opponent. What is it? A straw, not a straw dog, but a straw, there's a couple of words for that. So I just felt like again, you could answer that an artist really needs to be able to list their art for a sustainable amount of money, and this is sort of true, except the point here is that this is a fantasy opportunity cost for most of us. So anyway, I thought, didn't really bring out, it wasn't really a fair argument, I thought. Object 1, we're thrilled to share our calendars of exhibitions. This kind of took me aback, because, they just onboarded like 20 galleries. I have one, full transparency. I look forward to, I think it'll be probably early March. The first show, very excited about that. But now I'll be competing against Object 1, February 6th, they're doing weekly shows now, solo shows. So if they're going to do weekly shows, I mean, there are only so many artists in the ecosystem. It kind of feels like now we're competing against Object, and so I'm not sure. It feels kind of weird to me. Like once a month would make sense, but now doing weekly, all these 20 galleries that in theory should be, I would think, getting a push and being like, hey, we're excited about this. We're now competing against Object 1. So, and where were all these exhibitions like a year ago before the gallery? So I don't know what's going on here. But I'm excited. That being said, I'm happy for the artists. And so it goes, The journal continues. Unfortunately, Bosque Gracias. Today is online art residency. Kind of a tragedy here. In our town, a big fire burned 73 houses, and we're donating art to help rebuild them. This is a way to support the FAMs. So unfortunately, fire is also in Patagonia, which is supposed to be an incredibly beautiful part of the world. See if you can help out Bosque Gracias. Go to their Twitter. And here's Ornella, out of Buenos Aires, but here in Abu Dhabi, today in Abu Dhabi, I picked up my artwork sent via diplomatic pouch, thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I also had the chance to meet Carlos Moreno, the commercial attaché, who welcomed me warmly at the Argentina embassy. Getting everything ready for my show in Dubai and then in India. Huge thanks to my NFT collector, Rolando, for making it all happen. So that's pretty rad. Nice to see some nice news here for Ornella. Isn't that awesome? And good job, like good PR. Pretty awesome. Ollie Stewart just got my glitch cams from Let's Glitch It. Very excited to start. So, of course, these awesome kind of, I don't know if I'd call them homemade, but these awesome cameras made by Let's Glitch It. I need to speed up here in case I run out of space and lose the entire video here, which would at least be a tragedy for me. Ochiai Shohei. Very cool. Very cool keychain. More weirdness in a beautiful way from Machine Limp Bizkit. And there's the biscuit, and there's Limp Bizkit on the biscuit, and there is the Louis Vuitton painted, homemade painted chair, according to Machine. Pretty hilarious. Here's Yoain in a frame. Looking good. Looking very good. Very cool. This is interesting, too. Artist collabs on T-shirts. So how cool is this? These look pretty good. Kind of interesting. Look at that vinyl. Kind of interesting. Spiegel's Maskinen auction is live. So we saw this kind of video game. So not exactly, I think it's part of this to be revealed. There's an auction, how it works. Kind of confusing to me, but I'm sure if you take your time and look at this, it'll all make sense. I think you can buy ultimately these discs and you don't know what you're going to get. So kind of like some of these PFP projects, your keys to the mystery arrive. So what a beautiful website. Nice work. And here, my first ever game, Forgotten Frames, is now auctioning. So look at how cool that is. Looking good. So Spiegel's doing wonderful work. Here's Hermipe pixel art out of Japan. And what does it say here? Not sure. Dog. So very, very cool from Hermipe as usual. Look at this. Such an original artist here. How many colors? Maybe 4 colors. Very cool work here from Hermipe pixel art. Here is Not a Number and Rata. Super Baked Bros. I think, can you play? Let me see. It is interactive. Maybe you go here. There is a way to play. I'm not in advanced mode. Okay, I'm not going to do that now, but you can play. I'll do it. I'll do it for Rata, because Rata is great. Look at this. So there you go, interactive. How cool is that? And let me see if I can get the mushroom. I got it. Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. So with Not a Number, I assume doing the coding there, and Rata doing a kind of Mario video games. Very cool. Here is Zoxo, I think is how you pronounce it, on Zora. Cool work here. Kind of a Mario game theme here. Really cool artist. Really keeps it simple and great and focused. 620 minted. Nice work on Zora. Here's Die with the Most Likes. This is, I think, on Manifold. Not even sure. Okay, here is the, not sure if it's just been sold. Created January 27th, so new Die with the Most Likes. I brought it up large here. Let's actually quickly check the title. Cherishing Diminishing Joy. Okay. Very nice piece here. As you can see, doesn't put out, puts out a lot of work, but doesn't put out a ton of what I'd call canvases, so to speak, or mint a ton of work. So interesting work here by Die with the Most Likes. Kind of looks, and there's the ground beef. Kind of looks like an old folks home maybe, and all of these great TVs in the background. Beautiful work. Who knows how much that's going to go for. Die with the Most Likes going for a huge amount of money. Like $50,000, this sort of thing recently. So could go for a ton. Maybe it's already sold. Here's Quampa. And just to make this large for you. So this was posted on X and I think Instagram. Kind of interesting pixelated version. Maybe this is purposefully made smaller. Not sure, but very interesting work here by Quampa. Let's go through some of the, there we go. So we get some of the close-ups here. Again, I think using Microsoft Paint, like a newer version here. And as you see, just some details and everything. So pretty rad work from Quampa. And look at this, 40,000 views, 327 retweets. Nice work. Let's continue here. I think this is new. I'm not sure. Going Home by Yuri J, who of course I follow. Interesting piece here. I'm not sure I've seen this one. It could be older. It could be unreleased. I suspect it's unreleased. And so there is the octopus. You know, the alias, so to speak, one imagines, and a little boat in the background, a little cave here, and everything. Cool work. Nice composition from Yuri J. Here's Ed Marola, a really good book, pixel art brush sampled from personal sketchbook drawing using watercolor pens. And a beautiful, almost impressionistic looking work here. I was reading a book, a really good book, but when I woke up, I tried to write the plot, but made no sense. So very fun work here, nice little river, cool palette. Ed's been using this palette, and I should run so I don't, but we kind of saw this palette over here too on Choppy. This kind of, this one here, kind of similar palette, interestingly. A Myth Sun, so Myth and Uxine, Myth Sun number 49. Nice collab here. As you see, the Myth mask over top of the kind of Uxine old Mac figure and this awesome angel. And we're starting to see more of this pixelation with Uxine here, interestingly, being blended in. And I assume, and then here we see the myth mask. So I assume the myth probably did some of the composition, and then probably Uxine kind of looks like Uxine's mark making over top. Not sure how it works. So Uxine times myth. Edition of 1 going for 160 Tezos so far, and 8 hours to go. Here's Nov 1914. As we zoom through here, beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful work. Kind of playing with a new style here, or a new brush, I should say, of a certain kind, new mark making. But then we get these beautiful gradients over top, big chunky window, and a beautiful plant. Centro de Mesa, edition of 2, sold out at 8 Tezos. Here is Ranixtier with a cool composition, and this is combining the gradients, but also almost like CGI 3D here, and different elements. So interesting work from Ranixtier, maybe 3 or 4 colors. I mean, with gradients, of course. I've shown this before, but I'll show it again. Dan Control, doing the cigarette. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The cigarette here done using the filter, especially for a gradient artist like Dan. Really brilliant work. Here's very brilliant. Again, so simple, so economic, done with the gradients, doing a lighter. Very cool. Very cool. Here's Gio Mariani, who of course I follow. I'm not sure if this is an older or a newer work, but cool, pioneering pixel artist. Definitely inspired a lot of people on the object blockchain here. So interesting piece, interesting color. Here is Sui Soichi, Love and Revolution. Cool work here. Let me make it larger. This is done on manifold.gallery. So nice textured pixel art, and definitely has its own kind of feel. And this was just created January 24th as well. Here's another work, Abyss Walker, January 27th, edition of 50, and I think sold out at how much? Or what is happening here? History. The history might be too long for me to check here. But interesting. Let's look at the piece. Again, this kind of textured pixel art. Again, combination. Power of combination. Very cool. Here is Waffles, or I should say Pinsteak, with using, again, just icons here, hosting something. I haven't listened. I assume it's actually probably some synth action. Not sure. Kind of a fun piece here, though. Again, making it look so easy. Mirakit on Rodeo. And still waiting for the Maximize. Only 15 minted. And more cool kind of effects on effects, I believe. Pixel art from Mirakit. Here's John, abstract window number 18, 712 minted on Rodeo. So doing well here. Interesting. So it's kind of 3D and the cubes coming in 3D. This is also Rodeo, and this is someone called TPG. I thought this was a cool combination. Really nice use of ASCII or PETSCII, however you want to put it. I thought this was a really nice, again, we're back to combination, right? Because we kind of have pixel drawing, like maybe it's all ASCII, I don't know. But there's something about this one that feels more like a combination, although it probably is all ASCII, but it feels a little bit more graphic. Like this is really nice texture. Not sure what this person did, but it's not typical PETSCII ASCII. Speaking of, here's PETSCII on Chain, from Ed Woods, fractured jaw, gunshot wound. So interesting, great, another interesting piece. Cool composition here, and everything. Again, making PETSCII very interesting. This sold for 20 Tezos on Chain. Taste the Rainbow. This is an edition of 10 on Tezos. And here we see what looks like a little bit of almost video processing, but not positive on that, as the rainbow falls out of the PETSCII mouth here. Break free of the grim darkness and taste the rainbow, edition of 10. Here is Kazuhiro Ehara, a couple more. This is 39 Tezos. Almost looks like Glitch ROM, but really maybe another combination. Here's what looks like perhaps an inverted version or a much more minimal version which is super interesting, edition of 1. So 1 of 1. Here is E-Boy with some more googly grixes, I believe they're called. These are on Rodeo, 190 minted, not bad. Pretty nice. I like how these are turning into like abstract paintings to a certain degree, and still getting almost a couple hundred mints there. That's pretty good if you're putting out like 2 or 3 a day, or even 1 a day. Françoise Gamma, interesting, nice color here. Red and black on this animated work. Not sure if it's been minted anywhere. And here is Libro Block. Thanks for posting in the community. I found it there, and it's really cool. There's a whole series. So nice piece here, nice animated abstract with some cool music from Libro Block. Nice series. That's on Object. 3 Tezos, edition of 5. Great work. And none, get it while you can. Sometimes people burn, and then all of a sudden you're left with a 1 of 1. This is rad. Kurt Hustle Collective, KHFC. Let's...
You ever feel like eating fried chicken but it don't move enough? Then why not come on down to KHFC and get some live fried, refried, crispy chicken bits. It's so damn crunchy on the outside and juicy as hell on the inside. You've never tasted a better piece of chicken. Only 97 cents a pop or a dollar. 97 for 3 live fried, refried, crispy chicken bits.
Amazing. Totally amazing. What a talent those guys are. 5 left. Collect for 10 Tezos. KHFC. Kurt Hustle. Fried chicken. Here's Ex-Mortal. A work called Salt. Not sure if I saw this on X earlier, but nice landscape. You almost see the salt in the texture on top. And this is an edition of 11. And Ex-Mortal on fire, selling 10 Tezos each. Here's LucasOx. A cool work out of Buenos Aires. Rain Must Fall landscape. Kind of a fun digital work of rain falling on water. Nice piece, edition of 30, and I think selling out at 3 Tezos. Nice work. Here is Klaus, Composition 425. Composition 425, pretty cool and nice piece. Hadn't seen one for a while, so this looks pretty cool. So definitely evolving here. Edition of 1 available for 21 Tezos. Here is Salawaki taking my new bestie on a boat ride in Lake Puyan, Patagonia to meet up with more besties. I wonder if Salawaki is going to Patagonia, to the Bosque Gracias workshop. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, it's pretty cool GLB here, isn't it? As we continue into the AI, Richard Nadler, nice AI piece here. Let's continue. Here's Lena Eckert. I think this is AI, but I'm not positive. River Root. Kind of has that feel, doesn't it? But not positive. It may be something, maybe just painting and pixel art. Maybe it's processed with, I would guess it's AI and processed with pixels. Kind of dithered. Cool work. Available for 10 Tezos, edition of 10. This is really nice. This is Neural Divine. Very nice textured painting, kind of weird looking. Here's Scamra, photograph of on wall with stain. Another hyper textured work here. We're almost starting to get beyond the textures of painting, weirdly on a 2-dimensional surface, but these are getting like hyper textured, these works here. Interesting little kind of net there on the side. Here is No Hygiene. Is this the work? Look at how many likes No Hygiene has gotten. 43,652 likes on Instagram. That is unbelievable. How many followers? Only 3. Just shows you can go viral. I mean, you'd think with all of those likes, you'd get 34. You'd get like quite a few thousand visitors. Anyways, interesting work here. Just awesome from No Hygiene as usual. Here is Strange Thing, GM Art Fam. So beautiful work here. From Strange Thing, kind of playing, looking like moving over to the 17th century a little bit, or 18th century. As we go into the physicals, here's Moto Hero. Some cool paintings here. And what I love about this one is you really see the physicality of it. And you even see the underpainting, the brush strokes. I believe this is acrylic. And this is art for LA for Gallery Nucleus. Here's another one. Our hearts go out to those. So another work for Art for LA. The price is discounted from the original amounts. All proceeds will be donated. Gallery Nucleus. So very nice move there from Moto Hero and just donating a couple of beautiful artworks. This is also beautiful. Polymerization Camito Art Center, who's associated, I think, with Hermipe pixel art. Look at how cool this print is. This abstract. And then again, I mean, it almost looks like Hermipe, but I think it's someone else. So interesting. Not sure who that is. I think it's their new show. But again, playing with Rezo, cutting it up, right? Printing with Rezo. Zomerodi rugs, dein Traumteppich jetzt. Your dream carpet is now reduced, as I work my German there. And there it is. Pretty nice piece, actually. Nice textile work. You know, textiles were a big thing, and usually they're in installation, but we saw it with Tom from MySpace, if you saw the end of, I think, last show. Those brilliant works, and I need to speed through this. Tim Lahan, in case I get this, I need to stop this episode, in case I get cut off and lose the entire thing. Die with the most likes, beautiful painting there. And here is Noah Verrier. I believe this is also for LA Fires, I think. Yes, proceeds will be benefiting LA Fires. And here is the wonderful walk, everything I do for this 17-year-old version of myself. So playing with memes here. The brilliant money can buy happiness. I thought of apropos ending to this show. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, take care.